Hi everybody. For this video, we're going to talk about our wall framing and our wall layout here. So this is actually the summative part that I'm going to talk about because this is kind of our ticket to go out into the shop and do something. So we're going to talk about the paper here, and then hopefully in class then you can do the expo marker portion of this wall framing summative. So the first thing I have on here is we're going to talk about this. So we're going to talk about our document. So first thing we got to do always is a center line. So a center line for a door or a window. So my window on this first one is centered at 4'6" and it is 36 wide. So what this means is that our center line is going to be at 4'6", which is really going to be 4 inches and 4 inches and then 6. That's going to be half of an inch on paper. So that's our first thing. Let's go back to the paper. So here on our paper, I'm going to go ahead and line up my 0 here with the left side of this box. So just like that. I'm going to go ahead and go to 4.5, which is right here. So I'm going to do a dashed line. So I'm going to use my ruler. And then I can mark CL. Now, you can mark it CL, like just like that, or you could put center line above it. And this is going to be for my window. Just like that. Now, going back to the document, our window is 36 wide. So 36 inches is 3 feet. 3 feet, if you divide that by 2, you have 1.5 feet in each direction. So now I'm going to line up 1.5 at my center line here, and I'm going to go left and I'm going to go right. So right here, I'm going to mark 1.5 with my center line. I'm going to go ahead and mark 0, so on the left-hand side. And I'm going to go ahead and mark 3. Now, I'm having 0 because that's my 1.5 to the left. I can go ahead and mark 3 because I know I have a 1/2 inch right here, and then a full inch. I could also just move this over, put the center line on 0, and then mark 1.5. So you could do it either way that you want to do. So I'm going to extend these lines fully up. And there we go. So this is the inside of my window. So all of this stuff here, this is the inside of the window. Now, remember, on a window, if I move my sheet down a little bit, if you have a center line for a window, to the left, to the right, so let's say this is my full window right there. On the inside, on both sides, you have a cripple. And then your jack, 2 jacks and your 2 kings are going to be on the outside. So I know these aren't to scale, but it's okay. So 2 jacks, jacks, king, king. Same thing over here. Jack, jack, king, king. They are mirroring each other. So kings are always on the outside, jacks then middle, and then cripples on the inside. So there's a really big difference you have to do here. You have inside for the cripple. On the outside, you have jack and you have king. Always, always, always. You never have your jack, king, or anything like that on the inside. Same goes for a door. The jack and king always on the outside. So for our window, remember it's 36 wide, 18 in each direction. This line to the center, this is that 18-inch difference. And then you do it on this side, you also have your 18-inch. This is how you signify inside and outside. This line right here, and it breaks up the cripples and the jacks. So now back to our drawing. These are then our lines for inside and outside. I'm going to go ahead and use my ruler. I'm going to mark out my left side cripple right here. And mark out the right side cripple. And these are just 2/16 right there. Now I can also do the rest of this. I can mark out 1 stud for my jack, another stud for my king, 1 for my jack, one for my king. Now extend all these lines up. Jack, jack, king, king, cripple, cripple, jack, jack, king, king. Now, this is my window fully finished right there. This is a fully complete window. Center line, 2 cripples, 2 jacks, 2 kings. After this, if you go back to the assignment, we have to do a corner on the left side, but corners are always last. And then we have studs, 16 on center right here in the yellow. So we're going to go ahead and do the 16 on center. So right here. So for my first stud, I always have to mark out 0 on the left-hand side. This is always, we always do left to right. So I'm going to go ahead and mark 1 and 4/16. Because this spacing right here for our 16 on center, that's what this is. It measured out to 1 and 5/16 on our scale. But for that first stud, stud number 1, it's always shorter because, you know, we have to subtract the 2x4 by half. So then we can make sure every single stud going forward is on center. And then we actually apply plywood, finishing, drywall, and all that stuff. Things line up nice and easy. So if you subtract half of a 2x4, because our 2x4 is 1.5 in real life, it is 2/16 or 1/8 on our paper. I'll use 2/16 just for reference. Half of 2/16 is 1/16, so that's where I have to subtract this. So if I do 1 and 5/16 minus 1/16, that's where I get 1 and 4/16, also known as 1/4. So that's where that number is coming from. Now back to this. I mark this out, 1 and 4/16. Then I'll mark out 2/16 to the right. I'll extend this. X, X. That is stud number 1. Now I'm going to keep going and doing this all the rest of the way. So I'm going to mark out 1 and 5/16. 1 and 7/16. Because again, if I mark 5 from my left-hand side, if I add 2, that's where that 7 comes from, 7/16. So I can mark these. X, X, stud number 2. Now, stud number 3, it's most likely going to be inside of our window. And for a window, you have cripples, C's, on the bottom. For a door, like for number 2, cripples go on the top for a door. So, bottom cripples for our window here. Let's line this up. Go ahead and mark out 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Add 2, 7. So these are going to be my cripples. That's stud number 3. If I was keeping track, let's keep going. Let's do number 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. It's going to be stud number 4. And then let's keep going after this. So now this is where you can kind of run into a problem sometimes. So you can see that our jack and our king are fully where our stud number 5 would be. Now, that's totally fine. So we're just going to mark where stud number 5 would be, and then we'll go using that mark to then go create number 6. So stud number 5, I'm going to move my ruler down a little bit. It's going to be right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is stud number 5. So 4 and to 5 right here using these little tick marks. So then I'm going to move this over. I'm going to do stud number 6. 1 and 5. And then I'm going to also then have a corner on this as well. So this is stud number 5. Or sorry, 6. And then we always add a stud on the corner as well. So that's just 2/16. I kind of like doing the reverse, so I'll mark it at 2/16. Mark 0. So this is stud number 6. And then there you go. I have my stud here on the edge. Now, these are not corners. This is not a corner. This is not a corner. Our corner has to be on the left side. So our left side is going to be all the way over here. So the way we do it corners, I like to line this up in the middle. Let's say we were doing kind of like our interior corners, so stuff like that. So we can do, I know we talked about something else in kind of class, but these are our interior corners. I would go ahead and mark this at 5/16, and then there's kind of a line halfway through. You could totally freehand it, but for me, mark out where that 5/16 is, because that's the size of the stud on the longer side. That's what this measurement is. So here, the longer side, that's 5/16. So if I mark that out here, I'm gonna use my ruler, kind of go halfway, draw a line, and then I'll freehand the rest. Then that's a corner. Same thing over here. Mark out 5/16. I can freehand the rest, corner, corner. So then this is what my corner would look like. If we were doing this kind of like as an interior corner. So then this is the outside of the wall. This would be the inside of our building or anything like that. We did talk about kind of flipping that for doing an exterior corner class. But again, since we're talking about our modules, this is going to be this is going to come in handy for talking about our modules. So this is fully done for a window right here. Then we have our 16-aught center studs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then our one on the edge. And then we have our corner on the left side. So the same thing can be said for a door. So like if we're moving on to number 2, we have a door centered at 3'9". So let's go ahead and do that real quick. I'll get you started, but I'm not going to finish it. So then right here, if we go ahead and mark this, so 3 inch and then 9. So that's where our center line would be. Now, I'm not using 9/16 because, again, we have a scale. So, talking about that scale real quick. And if we're having a full foot on our tape measure, then that's broken up into fourths. So, you have 3 inches, 6 inches, 9 inches, and 12 inches. This is a foot. We have an inch. An inch is not broken down into twelfths, but we have 16ths. So, if I divide 16 by 4, that's 4, 8, 12, 16. These are all like, this is then quarters for then our 16. So, for example, if we have 3 foot, 9 inches in real life, on paper, it'd be 3 inches, and then 9 would turn into 12. So this would be 3 full inches, then 12 over 16, also known as 3/4. So we would have 3 3/4 inches. That would be our number for then where our center line would be. So that's how that scale works for converting our real numbers to our paper. Now down to the next thing here, we have the 32 wide. So 32 divided by 16. That's a funny coincidence because 16 is our 16 on center. We know that right here, 16 inches, 1 5/16. So I have to then go from this center line, I have to go 16 or 1 5/16 to the left, 1 5/16 to the right. And then that's going to be my line for then where my jack is to then signify inside or outside of my door. So let's go ahead and do this real quick. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then that's the left side. Let's do the right side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's my right side. Now, I'm going to extend these lines only halfway, because you'll see in a second. This is now the inside. So I have all this stuff. This is the inside of my door. Now for the door, very similar to a window, but you just delete basically the cripple and the top jack. So for a door, you do not have a cripple on the inside, and you do not have a top jack, because then that's where your header would go. If I kind of drew that real quick, let me draw it over here. You have a center line. Then these are signifying inside and outside, so inside right here. you would have one jack. You would erase this line. You'd have one jack, two kings. Same thing on the other side. You'd have one jack, king, king. And again, you would erase this line. That's why on the bottom here, I only extended those halfway. So let's fully complete this door, and then you guys can go ahead and do this on your own. So for right here for the door, I'm gonna add 2/16. One right here, one right here. This is gonna be my jack. So I'm gonna extend this guy up, jack here, king, king, just like that. Again, this is my starting line. I added one stud for my jack, and then two more for my king. The right side here, let's do the same thing. Put it at 0. Mark out 2/16, mark out 4/16. Extend these. Jack, king, king. So this is a finished door. Right here is where your header would go on top, and then bottom. That would just be kind of blank. We know obviously we do not want to put any cripples here on the bottom, because then you would walk into your cripple as you enter the doorway, which we don't want to do. So again, cripples for a window go on the bottom. Cripples for a door go on the top plate. So the rest of this wall, you can continue with doing 16 on center. That's what it calls for, and then it calls for a corner on the right hand side. So what we applied to the first wall, corner over here, you would add that on the right side. You would go through, do your 16 on center, and then you will be done with this, and then you can start doing the expo in the lab. So hopefully this helps, and yeah, feel free reference back to this video as you need. But again, we have a window, door, 16 on center, we got studs, and we got a corner. Hopefully this helps.